Today's review is sponsored by Georgia, one of my favorite dogs that deserves all the belly rubs. Tell her she's a good girl.
Watch it, Alan. I'm shooting.
The Blood Spattered Bride. How's it going, everybody? As you can see, I'm not in my typical location. I am taking care of Georgia this week at her house, and her house is the perfect place to talk about lesbian vampire movies. Of course, no matter where you are, it's always a good time to talk about lesbian vampire movies. So, I've been diving into lesbian vampire movies for the past couple of years, familiarizing myself with a genre that has been a bit of a blind spot for me. Blood Spattered Bride is actually the first lesbian vampire movie that I have ever seen, but it's been a long time since I last watched this movie. It's been at least 10 years, I think, since I last watched this film. And watching it again after all this time, it's probably one of my favorite lesbian vampire movies. We have this newlywed couple. The husband is only known as husband, that's what he's credited as in the film, and we have his new wife, Susan. They have just gotten married, and they're now in their new honeymoon phase. They arrive at husband's home out in the country, where they begin their new life as a married couple. But Susan seems to be alarmed by her new husband's sexual fantasies and sexual desires. As this is going on, as she's getting used to married life, she's having weird dreams about this strange woman from the past named Carmilla. As the movie continues, the woman from her dreams eventually arrives at the castle, and the two ladies develop a mysterious relationship filled with lust and blood. Blood Spattered Bride was inspired by the novella Carmilla, which is the first lesbian vampire story, and it came out in 1872, before Dracula, which came out in 1897. Carmilla has inspired a fair amount of films in the lesbian vampire genre, including Blood and Roses, Crypt of the Vampire Lovers. Plus, there are some movies out there that are just called Carmilla. And while Blood Spattered Bride is not the most faithful adaptation of the novella, it is a good lesbian vampire movie.
Kill him! Kill him now! Get closer to him, slash his face, find his heart and cut it out, silence him, punish him for his insolence! Kill him! Kill him! Put an end to him!
Now, there's a good amount of blood in this movie. Hell, it is called Blood Spattered Bride. But most of the bloodshed occurs in dreams or in the third act. Don't go into this expecting a huge body count. In fact, most of the kills don't happen until closer to the end of the movie. But the film is still good. Just don't go in expecting a huge body count. What draws us in the first act is Susan's relationship with her new husband. Now, her husband seems to have a strong sex drive, but Susan seems to be nervous about having sex with him. It's hinted at that there is an intensity in their sex life. Early on in the film, one of the first scenes we have, the newlyweds arrive at this very nice hotel. You have Susan sitting in their hotel room by herself, still wearing her wedding dress, and then her husband barges into the room wearing a stocking over his face. He attacks Susan and then assaults her. But it's quickly revealed that her husband was parking the car this entire time, and when he arrives in the room, we see that this entire attack happened in Susan's head. This was like a hallucination of her mind. This hints that there's something going on in their sexual relationship that frightens Susan, and we get other moments that hint at this as well throughout the film.
Come here. Come on. Don't be silly.
I don't want to.
So right away we get a sense that this isn't a healthy relationship, which helps to set up what we're going to get throughout the rest of the film with the lesbian vampire themes. Blood Spattered Bride is not your typical vampire movie. It doesn't have a lot of the traits that you see in other vampire films. The big one is that the vampire in this film, Carmilla, that's not a spoiler, we know she's a vampire, but the vampire Carmilla does not die in sunlight. There are plenty of scenes where we see her walking around or hanging out in the sunlight. I appreciate that, because if you go back to, older vampire stories and older vampire lore, vampires were not killed by sunlight. This has been said by many other people, so I'm not going to act like I'm the first one to say this, but anyway, the first time that a vampire was killed by sunlight was in the original Nosferatu. Now, this movie is a slow burn, but it's not badly paced. I always say that there's a difference between bad pacing in a movie and slow pacing in a movie. There's enough to keep us interested while we're waiting for the bloodier moments and the steamier moments. One of the things that we're interested in is the relationship between Susan and her husband. Then we have Susan's dreams involving Carmilla. They grow more violent every night. It eventually gets to the point where this mysterious dagger appears in the castle. It eventually gets to the point where Carmilla comes to the home. And throughout the rest of the film, we're intrigued by Carmilla as she develops a relationship with Susan. We watch as things get more sensual between the two. We watch as Susan becomes more distant from her husband, and eventually she becomes more violent. But this being a lesbian vampire flick, it does a good job with the lesbian themes. It's all about watching Carmilla's seduction of Susan. It starts off in Susan's dreams as she is drawn into Carmilla's bloodlust, and it eventually goes into reality.
Say it. I hate him. Say it again. I hate him. Say it with all your heart. I hate him.
I know I'm in the minority here, and I know I've picked on this movie a few times already, but Daughters of Darkness is considered one of the best lesbian vampire movies, and I was disappointed in that movie. I know I'm in the minority here. I go into details about that in my review of Daughters of Darkness and in my Vampirus review. Me shamelessly whoring myself out, please go check out those videos. But anyway, My issue with Daughters of Darkness is the lesbian themes in that movie were so subtle to the point of being non-existent. I want to be clear, I have no problem with subtlety in my movies, whether it be horror or exploitation films, what have you. But the thing is, Daughters of Darkness was so subtle with its lesbian themes that it felt like the movie was too afraid to be a lesbian vampire movie. Now, in terms of Blood Spattered Bride, there are parts where it is more subtle with its lesbian themes and less subtle with its lesbian themes. There are moments where it has more graphic moments, and it has moments where it has more subtle moments. And for me, Blood Spattered Bride balanced out the subtlety better than Daughters of Darkness.
Susan is also very beautiful.
With the balance between the more graphic scenes and the more subtle scenes, Blood Spattered Bride allows the lesbian themes to thrive a little more. We have scenes where we see Carmilla slip Susan's dress off. We have a moment where we watch Carmilla seductively bite Susan's neck. There's a scene closer to the end of the film where we see these two ladies not lying naked together. So those are scenes that do not have subtlety, but then there's another scene which is a little more subtle with its lesbian themes, and that is the moment where Carmilla and Susan have sex with each other. Now, we don't see the sex scenes, but we hear what's going on. And with the sounds that we get as these two women are going at it, there is no doubt in our mind what they're doing. It felt good revisiting Blood Spattered Bride. In my dive into lesbian vampire flicks, I do think that this is one of the best. This movie is an underrated gem. It's beautifully shot, it has good gothic atmosphere, the story is an interesting slow burn, and while it does take a while to get to the bloodshed in the third act, we're not bored, we are interested in the story. As someone who is exploring lesbian vampire flicks, I think this is a good entry in the genre. And with that, let's get to the Grindhouse Rankings. We eventually get a body count, but I don't want to say what the count is, and I don't want to reveal too much about it because I think it'll spoil too much of the movie. It reaches the vampire requirements with blood-sucking, eroticism, and a good gothic atmosphere. There's a lot of nudity in this flick. We got TNA and some full frontal shots. The movie is beautifully filmed. It has that gothic atmosphere that is both creepy and pretty. The kills don't come until the third act, but they are well done. This is a good slow burn. It keeps us interested while we wait to get to the steamier moments. The movie embraces its lesbian themes. It mixes some subtlety with some more graphic moments. And the movie has a good, bloody ending. I'm giving this a 4.3 out of 5. This is one of my favorite lesbian vampire flicks. Well worth a watch for fans of the genre. As always, I want to thank all of you for continuing to watch and support this channel. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know some of your favorite hidden gems in the vampire genre. This is the Maniac and Georgia, here to remind you that the Grindhouse will never die. Yes, hey happy girl. The most professional channel on YouTube. Hey happy girl.